Reaction this is: why didn't Japan annex Siberia during the Russian Civil War? Short animated documentary by History Matters, yes. When Russia was divided in the wake of its 1917 revolution, the Entente powers intervened and occupied parts of the country. Oh yeah, that's true, right? USA, I guess, ordered troops to occupy lots of places of Siberia because they didn't want Germany to take resources from Russia, I guess. Because they knew as soon as the revolution is basically when you see as a power, stability of region in any place. Revolutions are usually extremely destabilizing thing for a long time. So if there is a revolution somewhere, doesn't matter if it's for good or bad, it will destabilize that place and will open up opportunity for other countries to, I guess, use its resources or whatever. So I guess USA did that. So Entente, basically other powers did that as well. But didn't hang around and fully withdrew after a few short years. So why did it leave instead of trying to hold on to all of the resource-rich land? Okay. So obviously this is about Japan, not the all Entente power, basically Britain, USA, pretty sure, right? Yeah. I guess they only intervened for the World War, right? World War One. During the World War One, Russia just backed off from the war because now it's a communist came to the power. Right, Tsar was imprisoned and killed later on, so they back away, and that's why other powers basically intervene. So Germany can't use Russian resources, take Russia to advantage, right? And so USA and Entente basically can create this kind of an Eastern Front to pressurize Germany. Otherwise, the Eastern Front was gone, so Germany can focus all power to Western Front. So that's what their goal was. Of course, they left. But about Japan, I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure the last Tsar tried to please his civilians, tried to go to war with Japan and lost. So because of that, Japan would, it's a good excuse to, annex lots of part of Siberia, but I don't know. So let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to have tomorrow. Check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. And yeah, that's what it.
After the Russian government was overthrown by the Bolsheviks in late 1917, the Entente sought to intervene. This saw soldiers from those nations enter Russia across numerous fronts. This was in order to secure resources, bolster their allies, and prevent either from falling into German hands.
Yeah, there you go.
In Russia's Far East, Japan led a major intervention which saw it invade Siberia and occupy all of these lands. And given Japan's antagonistic history with Russia and its hatred of all things communist, why didn't it use the opportunity to take Siberia for itself? So, when Russia left the First World War in 1917, the Entente were quite concerned. The largest army had just left, and soon afterwards its new leaders had handed the Central Powers all of this.
It's not just about, Japan hating communism. Japan around this time was kind of strong colonizing mentality. They just want more places. It just exploded during the World War II time after this. They just wanted more and more and more. Basically, in the end, that's why they went to war with USA.
So, France, Britain and later the United States opted to intervene. At first, Japan was very reluctant to get involved with intervening in Russia. And this was because if things went wrong, it may have found itself caught up in a major land war near its borders. And as such, the Japanese government chose to sit it out. That was until the Entente decided to go in without them. Britain, Canada and the United States wanted to secure Vladivostok and so made plans to occupy the region around it. Japan didn't want to be left out and so quickly agreed to join the invasion in 1918. It was asked to provide about 10,000 men for the operation, which they did, followed by a further 60,000 men, just to be sure. Such a large force concerned the British and the Americans, who felt that maybe Japan wasn't just looking to secure a port for trade. The plan had just been to occupy these lands to secure the port. However, Japan kept on pushing and by 1920 they were up to here.
They're like, give us 10,000 of them, and yeah, we're going to give you 10,000 and 16 reserve. Like, what? What'd you say?
The government had also settled tens of thousands of Japanese civilians in the region and gave mineral rights to Japanese companies, which signalled that maybe they were there to stay. Once their allies had been evacuated and it became clear that the Bolsheviks were going to win, the Entente withdrew, thus leaving the region to the communists. Well, at least they had thought, because the Japanese chose to stay and those in the army were pushing the government to either annex the region or set up a permanent puppet state to act as a buffer against the communists. Japanese politicians did not agree with the army, though. The problem was that the rest of the Entente were very uneasy about Japan grabbing so much land. The United States especially was angered by the expansion of an empire which it had a mixed history with, especially given that further expansion in Siberia could potentially put Japan right next door to Alaska. And also, even with the Japanese plantations, most of the people who lived in the region didn't want the Japanese to stay. And given Japan's support for Siberia's puppet rulers, who frankly weren't the nicest, the people in the region just wanted them gone. Another issue was that with the rest of the Entente gone, Japan had to face the Bolsheviks alone. And the Bolsheviks were now able to bring a lot more force to bear on Siberia. This meant that if Japan wanted to keep the region, it would need to commit hundreds of thousands of men and lots of money and resources to do so. Furthermore, to make things more complicated, the Japanese government didn't trust the army. There were concerns that generals were lying about casualty rates and what the Bolsheviks could actually do to retake Siberia. And since they weren't 100% sure, they weren't going to risk it. And so the Japanese government agreed to
So let me get this straight. They had problems inside of them, right? They were worried about, angering other Entente power, obviously, because taking lots of part of Siberia would eventually, get closer to Alaska, basically US and things like that. And obviously local people didn't like them being there, right? So this feels a bit different than how their strategy was during the World War II time. But I guess that was one of the reasons why they were like that in World War II, right? What happened? So every action you see in World War II, basically that's just like, this is the season 2 of the TV show or something. Season 1 is World War I, because everything carries over from that time. So World War II was mostly World War I unfinished, because everything you can trace back to the World War I period, right? How people were angry, people had left out goals or whatever. In World War II, it just shows.
And left Siberia in 1922. And in the end, this was something that the Japanese weren't too upset about, because its somewhat light intervention in the First World War had seen the country gain Germany's colonies in the region for very little effort, meaning that by the 1920s, Japan had still come out ahead.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bisonet.
And there's still 1930s left. Yeah, we're going to do something there. Yeah, okay. So obviously their goal after that was mostly Pacific Ocean, right? They were taking islands after islands there, close to Australia and basically close to USA too. That's why USA basically, got involved in the first place in World War II with Japan. And first USA was like, nothing's going to happen, and they are Pearl Harbor. So yeah, Japanese intention can be seen there. But yeah, if this could be great alternate history video, right? That channel, alternate history hub, whatever. Like, what if Japan had annexed Siberia? That would have changed something in World War II, right? People would have been pissed off to Japan, right, as soon as World War II starts. So, or even before that, maybe they were in small war or something. Who knows? Yeah. Right, well, that was why didn't Japan annex Siberia during the Russian Civil War? Watch on History Matters. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. I've done quite a few history videos. If you haven't seen them, check out that. And yeah, I'll see you next time.